Thank you for viewing this YouTube archive of a Conscious Consumer Network broadcast. Please feel free to share it far and wide. Check out our weekly broadcast guide for weekly updates on scheduled broadcasts. Help keep us on the air by contributing to our network support fund. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or get in touch via email. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army.
Welcome to Eradicating Programmed Ignorance on TLBTV, brought to you by Conscious Consumer Network. Do me a favor. Don't let this be the only show you watch on Conscious Consumer Network. Go to CCN's program guide. If it wasn't for these guys and the platform they give us, our word wouldn't be heard nearly as far as it is. So go to their program guide, take a look at the phenomenal shows they've got, and spread the word. Conscious Consumer Network. We like them. We support them. Okay? Today, we're going to talk about TOXYSolutions, the solution to toxic America. Now, let me start off by saying America is not the only place on the planet that's toxic. Today, we live in a toxic world. But if we're going to talk about the epitome of toxic, then we have to talk about the United States. And most of you have heard me say this before. I'll say it once, and I'll try not to go back to it again for the rest of the show. But the United States is the most vaccinated. The United States is the most GMO. The United States has the highest level of fluoride in our water, or we're the most fluoridated. We're the most geoengineered. We're the most drugged, and I could go on and on. When it comes to being a toxic society, we are the gold medal winners, as usual, America #1. It's not always in our favor, my friends. We also have the most chronic illness of any society on the planet. And we also spend 10 times more than any other planet in healthcare. 1 and 1 doesn't make 2 here, my friends. So today we're going to talk about TOXYSolutions, the solutions to a toxic America. Presently, we are witnessing occurrences of so many dysfunctions and debilitating diseases that are reaching catastrophic proportions. Yet we see relatively little, certainly not nearly enough, being accomplished by our government agencies to research and combat these blights, almost as if they already know the answers. If they can mandate vaccinations and healthcare, why not ramp up testing for heavy metals, pathogens, or other components such as toxins to build a national database for causal or correlative research? Imagine what that could do, okay? But don't hold your breath, okay? But what? What if there was a way for us to accomplish this ourselves and for us to take back control of our health? It's time to stop complaining and start acting, all right? We have available to us tools for change. We are now presented with mechanisms that have the ability to put the future of our children or aging parents' health back into our own hands as well as our own. But who do these toxins affect the most? It is the vulnerable children and our vulnerable parents. These are those who get hit the hardest. How can we continue to complain daily about these issues if the answers are available but we choose to ignore them? If you are waiting for the CDC, the EPA, the FDA, or the USDA to act, don't hold your breath, because it is through their very inaction or complicity that has allowed all we suffer. Finally, the science can belong to us through TOXYSolutions. One of the main components of the TOXYSolutions project is ToxyScreen. This is a test kit invented by two of my guests today, Gene Elwell and Ed Eckert, and also another part of the triad of solutions is the JMCC water filters, which are the best on the planet. So we have the best test kit on the planet, we have the best water filter on the planet, and we have the best natural chelating and body cleaning or flushing products on the planet. We have not only the ability to tell you you're toxic, we have the ability to tell you what you can do to change it. And that could mean the difference between your children blossoming into autism, which will affect them for the rest of their life, and you, or you blossoming into Alzheimer's or dementia when you get to be my age, and I'm 61, and you're going back into wearing diapers again. I don't pull punches. Everybody who listens to me knows that, all right? A good portion of the studies done on both dementia and Alzheimer's blames this, or says a big reason for this, can be pinned to heavy metals in the body. These are things that are found in these bodies when they are examined after these people pass away, when the biopsies are done or the autopsies are done. If you knew at 25 years old that your body was carrying a toxic level of either mercury or aluminum, could you or would you be able to keep yourself from being triggered into dementia or autism when you get to be my age and becoming a burden on your children? Or, as I say, again, not for effect, for fact, wearing diapers again. I'm not telling you that that's the only reason for these afflictions. What I'm saying is this could very well be a serious aid in preventing this from happening to you. So we have the ToxyScreen kits invented by Gene and Ed. We have the JMCC water filters invented by Professor James McCanny, who was also a part of the ToxySolutions project, and other products have, that we have available to us. But, the reality is, if you're not aware, then you don't know what to do. Shows like this are to do exactly that. It's to make you aware. Also today, we always need to represent the science. We always need to represent the science to give credibility to everything we discuss. Ed and Gene were intelligent enough to invent ToxyScreen, and I will tell you, I will go to my deathbed hyping, or just hyping huge accolades on them for that, because that is a paradigm shift in healthcare today. But we still need to verify the science, and Ed and Gene, as smart as they are, will be the first to tell you, and I will be the first to tell you, I'm not a PhD level microbiologist. I can't give you the science behind this, but my co-director of the ToxySolutions Environmental Justice Project, which is Dr. David Lewis, who is a PhD level microbiologist, is also with us today. And he's going to bring the science in for all of us, okay? So, the reality of degradation of science is what he's going to speak to, because, again, we don't hear any of this from our government. So we, the people, need to step up and do it ourselves. David is no longer working for the government. David is a private citizen, just like Gene is, just like Ed is, just like I am. And we have banded together to form a phenomenal organization, okay? ToxySolutions, to give you not only the fact, the proof that you're toxic, but to give you the solutions as well as the science behind it. So via ToxySolutions, this project, we will make the necessary changes and provide you with the viable and proven solutions. And with that, let me bring these gentlemen in no order of age, beauty, or intelligence. First, I will bring in and introduce Ed. How are you today, Ed?
I'm doing fine, Roger. How you doing today?
Look, I'm sitting among some of the brightest and as far as I'm concerned, the most worthy people on the planet. How do you think I'm doing, my friend?
I guess you're doing pretty good. I feel pretty good hanging out with you guys too.
And next, I'm going to bring in your lifelong partner and friend since kindergarten. You actually sound alike, and by golly, you actually even look a little bit alike. And I don't know who I just insulted right here, and that would be Gene. How are you, Gene?
I'm doing fine, Roger, and I think you insulted Ed.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to say, because then neither one of you knows which one needs to be mad at me. And last but definitely not least, a very good friend, somebody I have known for a couple of years, and somebody who always has the right answers for me, and somebody who always has a pleasant conversation, a true Southern gentleman, Dr. David Lewis, who we will refer to as David going forward. How are you, David?
Hey, Roger, I'm doing just fine tonight. Glad to be here.
And for anybody who doesn't know David well, when he's smiling, he's sincerely entertained, because David doesn't smile like that a whole lot, but we've got a big smile on his face right now, so I'm a happy camper. David, I want to start off this whole discussion with you, because you have, and everybody who watched this show on a regular basis is aware of this, you have over 3 decades working for the EPA. And no, I'm not going to hold that against you, because when you first started out with them, that was actually a good thing. What you have seen is the progression of, and you actually chronicled this in your book, Science for Sale, you have seen and chronicled the degradation of the credibility of government science. And this has done as much, if not more, to put us into the fix we're in today as any other catalyst out there. So please speak to that. And I'm going to mute my mic so that even if I ramble on back here, I won't interrupt you.
Thanks, Roger. Certainly, I worked at EPA for over 31 years, beginning when the agency was first formed in 1970. And a lot of my work, which covered environmental pollutants, heavy metals, toxic organic chemicals, and how bacteria interact with them, how they interact with the environment, how they move about in the environment, how they end up causing adverse health effects. That was my area at EPA, but I also worked in collaboration with other areas, infection control, for example, did research in collaboration with the CDC in Atlanta, the FDA, USDA, and other federal agencies. So for over 30 years, I actually watched from the inside as science and engineering at these federal agencies moved from a very high credibility, a passion to inform the public, no silencing of science. I never witnessed that when EPA was first formed. It was just the opposite. But over the last 3 decades plus, I have watched that go down the drain, and the balance has tipped to where so much is published in the scientific literature today that you can't trust it. You cannot trust it at face value, especially any time that the federal government, any federal agency, has a stake in what gets published in the scientific literature.
Can I ask you a question, David, please?
Yes, of course.
And nobody can speak to this as well as you, and I've done a lot of research, and even I won't attempt to speak to it as well as you can. Peer-reviewed science, to me, okay, and to most people out there who don't understand, means that if you perform science, then you present it to your peers, they must be able to reproduce it in order for it to be peer-reviewed science. It must be reproducible along the lines of the science as you have laid it out. What I am hearing more and more today, and would you speak to this, is that a lot of the science that is published can't be reproduced. Doesn't that make it voodoo science, my friend?
Well, the short answer is yes, of course. It's still peer-reviewed. The problem is who gets to peer review it? You know, which scientists are chosen to vote up or down on this research is part of a process where they're selected to get peer reviewers who support certain government policies and certain industry practices. So the system's rigged at this point. What makes it out and is published in the scientific literature oftentimes is intentionally misleading. It's misleading so that it supports certain government policies and industry practices. And scientists such as myself, who worked at the federal government, who may do experiments and find results that call into question certain government policies and industry practices, we're silenced. Our careers are dead-ended. We're lucky if we keep a job. That's what happened to me.
Well, I've got to say, and I know this might not hit you exactly right, but I only speak the truth. Their loss is our gain, because having you as a co-director in a project that has been described as a paradigm shift is absolutely huge for the TOXYSolutions environmental justice project. And for anybody out there, the short name is TOXYSolutions. The long name, which has been given to this project by Dr. Lewis or by David, again, is TOXYSolutions Environmental Justice. And I absolutely agree with that, because a vast majority, not 100%, but a vast majority of the toxins we face come to us through our environmental exposure. And I believe that was the catalyst behind this, right, David?
It is. Unfortunately, the truth is that toxic chemicals that are released into the environment, they target economically and educationally disadvantaged communities more by far than anyone else. And so a lot of our focus with the TOXYSolutions Environmental Justice Project is to focus on Native American populations, African American, Hispanic communities. When you look across the board in the United States, you'll find that's where most of the toxic chemicals are headed, where they're disposed of. And those are the most vulnerable segments of our society for being able to even handle such exposures.
Totally agree. And now I'm going to bring in either Ed or Gene. Let me see. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We've had a chance to talk to Gene a little bit more often than we've had a chance to talk to Ed. So we're going to bring Ed in first. And Ed, I want the history of you and Gene from kindergarten on, chronologically and in fine detail. No, I'm just kidding. What I'd like to know is why would two construction workers, okay, who had, and basically my name for that is girder gorillas, why would two girder gorillas absolutely sit down, bump their heads together over a kitchen table and come up with something that can lead a pair? We wouldn't be doing TOXYSolutions, which is more than just your product, but that's the linchpin. That's the kingpin of this whole project. It revolves around the ability for people to absolutely know not only if they're toxic, because we all know every American is toxic, but how toxic are you and from what? And we've got two construction workers who may be well above average intelligence, but haven't had 15 or 20 years of college, don't have a PhD, but you come up with a revolutionary, a paradigm shifting product over Gene's kitchen table. Well, that story in itself has got to be worth telling. We've heard parts of that from Gene. Let's hear it from you, please.
Okay, well, Gene tells the story much better than I do.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, we went to grade school together in Barrington, New Jersey. You know, we became lifelong friends. We went to vocational school. We both studied heating and air conditioning. After we left school, we were in the Air Force together. We spent a lot of time with our families growing up and our kids. And after we graduated from school, we both went into the building trades. Gene is a boilermaker. I was an elevator mechanic. And in the 70s, late 70s, we realized with OSHA coming into play that there was a lot of stuff.
Hold on one second, and I apologize for interrupting. Okay.
Okay.
Boiler tech and elevator mechanic. So he got hot and you got high.
Yes.
Oh! Please continue, my friend. My audience, I apologize.
That's a good one, Roger. Thank you. Yeah. So anyhow, after we got in the building trades, we saw all this OSHA stuff going on. Gene ended up taking a test. He went got his OSHA safety training. We saw all the problems with drugs in the construction field and a lot of other places, and we saw the problem with safety working on jobs like that. So we both left the field and we started looking into putting on job sites. We would go on and do drug testing and respirator fit tests for all the building trades. And we saw that the urine test was really getting beat. So we moved in, started working on some saliva testing, and we had the same similar problem. People could beat that test. So we sat down at the table. I actually went back to school and got a biology degree, and we learned a little bit about oral fluid. We came up with an idea to swab the gum line of the mouth, and we came up with it. We met a scientist, Dr. Robin Hannigan. She is now the dean at Boston, Massachusetts. And she came up with the idea. She was testing for heavy metals in fish, and we started working with her, and we came up with this idea. It's been a real windfall, and things are starting to really happen. People are seeing how easy it is. We did some testing. We did a study down in Atlanta, Georgia, and we tested some children that were sound asleep in their mother's arms. From discovering the heavy metals, we also know that we can do a lot of other testing with this. And it's a blood test. It gives you a real blood test of what's happening in your body.
It's a blood test without the owie.
Without the nickel. Yeah, without getting needles or anything else. Yes.
And I just got off of James McCanney's show, and what I told the audience there was, what we have here is something that is a fraction of the cost of getting a blood test done, the multiple doctor's visits, the whole 9 yards associated with a blood test. So it's a fraction of the cost. It is actually more accurate. It will actually find a toxin in the blood over a longer period of time. It will distinguish bound toxins as well as free toxins. I mean, this is a paradigm shift. When people tell us, and I have people sending, since we launched TOXYSolutions, and for anybody listening, please go visit it. It's TOXY, not I, TOXYSolutions.com. And this is where all of the information you need for Toxy screen kits, for for James McCanney, Professor McCanney's JMCC water filters, best on the planet. I never lie, I never exaggerate, best on the planet. And Nature Sunshine, which has about the best absolutely natural herbal chelating and body detoxifying products. So that's the Toxy solution. So yeah, you guys have something that is a huge paradigm shift. Now let me bring Gene in here so Gene can tell us everything that you said that was wrong. Okay? Gene, listen to me. You and I have become very close friends, and I hope to do the same thing with Ed. We just haven't had the exposure you and I have. And I realize that you're in therapy for that exposure right now. But look, what I really, really enjoy about you the most is that you see this as something of a benevolent action that you can offer back to society. You see this as something that you and Ed can do, not for fame and fortune, but to lead, none of us are spring chickens. And, and hopefully not too soon, but eventually we're going to be saying our last words. And what have we left behind? I see in you and Ed the desire to leave behind having done something for humanity, something that means something. And you've expressed this to me on several occasions. So where I'd like you to jump in is, what do you and Ed want to see happen with not just Toxy Screen, but the Toxy Solutions? Because you could have said, here's the Toxy Screen, you guys go do what you're going to do, and get into your yacht and sail off to Tahiti and forget about everything. But that's not what you have planned. So let's talk about what you see all of Toxy Solutions doing.
Oh, thank you, Roger. Yes, it is. It's more of a, it's not just the money. It's not the money. It's leaving a legacy for our families and all, but bring something that Ed and I worked on. We saw problems. We worked with the company that we started doing the drug testing and OSHA safety training. I was a trainer, pulmonary function, respirator fits and all. But we were also doing DNA testing. And what we saw with this, we took the concept and the idea that this could not be beaten. There is no medical waste. What, that alone is going to save the environment. It's going to save down on the Jersey Shore, down in Jersey beaches, not getting stuck with needles and not having that problem. And the cost of that medical waste for hospitals, for doctor's office, for us in general. I mean, that's the one part of it. But this is something that we're taking this around the world. We want this to be in every country. We want the change from needle sticks, blood draws, and this is an ultra-filtrated blood plasma test. We are taking the blood that goes through your whole body, your organs, your bone marrow, your brain, and it gathers, and we're drawing it from your gum line. Your gums bleed. Other parts of excreting bodily fluids, you have some blood involved, but right here, it all comes through the canal, your glands, and we pick it up right here. And
it's ultra filtrated. That's the point. Yes, that's what makes it so valuable.
Well, and this is the important part, like mercury. Mercury is out of your body after you get contaminated in 30 days. So we are told by the doctors and the PhDs and all that it gets out of your body, your blood, and goes into your body, your again, all your organs and all.
Your joints, yes.
Your joints. And to see it in your bone marrow, they use an X-ray fluorescence test. It glows like phosphorus in your bone marrow, so we're told. Well, we're picking up all that. Weeks and months later, we are picking up what they can't do with a blood test. How great is that? I mean, how beneficial. We found this out in the Franklinville, New Jersey. A daycare center was being housed in a mercury thermometer factory. And they were told months later, after the test, after they found this out and they had town meetings, Ed and I were there, they were told, oh, everybody's clean. It's not in your urine challenge test. It's not in your body, your blood, or anything else. Well, we took a test of 30-some children, and 16 of them still had mercury poisoning, and 8 of those were elevated above the 10 UGs per level. On mercury was, I think, 3.5. And we showed them, and they were able to get to a doctor and get chelations and deal with the trauma of having that illness. It is a remarkable. We were lucky enough to come up with the idea. We realized that nobody in the history of medicine was gathering fluid or being able to test from there. We took a DNA swab, a simple swab like you see on the cop shows, the CSI and all. And we swabbed the gum line, not the buccal swab that you get for a DNA test. And that's what Ed and I came up with. And thank you, Ed, because his training and all. We took that, and it has to be Dacron polyester. We can't use cotton because cotton has lead, mercury, and arsenic that we found. You also explained glyphosate in the cotton out of the ground. Your clothes, yes, your clothes, cotton clothes that you wear, you still have traces. Not enough to damage, I hope, but it was enough to take our test. The result of this test with the mass spec is so accurate to the billionth of a microgram. A blood test can't do that.
One of the highest levels of cancer in females, okay, is in the area of the vaginal tract, in the area of the ovaries, those type of things.
Right.
And what was found and actually published, anybody listening to this show, please Google this if you have any doubts what I'm about to say. The tampons and the feminine napkins were found and were tested, and that cotton was found to be containing high levels of glyphosate, which is a class 2 carcinogen. Let's stop and imagine why we have this sudden uptake of cancer within that area and how close, okay, and personal these products are with these women. And then let's start to wonder again, and maybe we've got answers. But when the WHO says that glyphosate, which is found in this cotton, is a class 2 carcinogen, and you're wearing it that close to your body, and cancers of those sort are skyrocketing, 1 and 1 has to make 2 somewhere. And with that, I'd like to jump back to you, David, because you've heard what Gene said, you've heard what Ed said. You know what James McCanney has invented as far as the water filter goes. You know the ability of natural products to chelate and to flush toxins from the body. It doesn't require poisonous pharmaceuticals. So we know that the solutions are all here and that we have them all together under one roof called TOXYSolutions. But I want you to not necessarily add credibility, because again, we don't challenge people to prove us wrong. We dare them to. What I would like is your idea on the TOXYSolutions scenario. You wouldn't be saying I'm the co-director of this project if you didn't totally believe it, and you flat out told me this is what I intend to do for a good portion of the rest of my life. When someone of your stature, of your technical and scientific stature, says something like that, there's got to be a reason you said it. That's what I'm looking for you to say right now. Please explain that to us.
Thanks, Roger. Yeah, definitely. There's several things I would like to explain and make crystal clear. One, Gene could not have done a better job of explaining the difference between this product and anything that's out there in the world. It is a game changer. What it does is, we all know, people who listen to your program have to know, you can't escape it. You cannot trust what the CDC, the EPA, the FDA, these other federal agencies are telling us about what we're being exposed to, not in our food, not in our environment. We're kept in the dark in the day that we live in now. The ToxyScreen test kit will change that. The TOXYSolutions Environmental Justice Project is going to be focused on seeing where these problems are and uncovering them. We're taking away from the federal government what they've held control over in this one area, and this one area being what you and I are being exposed to. Now, what we do with that, in my opinion here, and I want to be very clear about this, we can, with TOXYSolutions and the oral swab test, let people know what their levels of exposures are for glyphosate, certain heavy metals. They can learn for the first time what their body burden is of that. And that information, in my opinion, can't be gained anywhere else right now. Not that I know of. I mean, you can go and have blood tests done, like Gene was talking about, but how valid those results are currently, what you're carrying may or may not be useful. But I want people to do what I'm going to do with these products. I want to find out what my levels of glyphosate and certain heavy metals are, and if they're elevated, I want to talk with my doctor about what to do about this. We cannot make any guarantees that if you use these products, you're not going to have a child with autism or you're not going to get Alzheimer's disease. But what it does do,
agreed.
What it does do is that it informs you with the information you need to take to your healthcare providers and get something done about it if you find out that those levels are too high. So that, in a nutshell, to me, is what this is all about. It's why my life from here on out is dedicated to see that people know about this opportunity and they can make use of it. And we will be working with particularly educationally and economically disadvantaged communities across the United States to apply these technologies and unveil the sort of problems which you see in the news now with Flint, Michigan, for example, or Washington, D.C. before that, where the CDC and the FDA kept the public in the dark on high levels, dangerously high levels of lead in drinking water. And they covered it up with fake data in the scientific literature. We are here to fight that. That's the reason I'm here. I don't think I can say any more about that.
Well, I think you did a damn good job of explaining it the way you did. And to back up what you just said, we make no claims of cure, and we can make no claims of cure. And to do so would be it's disrespectful and unresponsible. It is. We cannot do that, and we won't do that. What we will tell people is that there are ways to chelate heavy metals from your body. There are ways to flush toxins from your body, and that we do know that your body is going to react, okay, and probably be happier going forward without levels of toxins within your body. Are we going to say that if you tie in with TOXYSolutions, you're never going to get autism, or excuse me, Alzheimer's or dementia? No. But do we know what, or do we have a real good idea due to scientific peer-reviewed studies? And here we go, we're using that again. Do we have an idea what causes these type of maladies? Yes, we do. And are a lot of scientists saying that they are directly related to a body's heavy load of toxic metals or heavy metals? Yes, they are. So I would assume, without saying it's a cure, that if I get rid of these heavy metals, that I have a better chance of living a longer, healthier life. We know glyphosate has been determined or stated by the WHO to be a class 2 carcinogen. If I get rid of the glyphosate out of my body by flushing it out with natural products, do I have a better chance of maybe, or not, a less of a chance of getting cancer? That's probably true. So if we understand the science, then we can work within the system to give our bodies a better shot at a healthier future. Can we sit here and tell you that if you use a Professor McCanney's water filter, or you chelate all of the heavy metals and all of the toxins like glyphosate out of your body, that you're never going to get cancer, or you're never going to get Alzheimer's, or you're never going to get dementia? It would be very unresponsible for us to ever say anything like that. But the odds become more in your favor if you do the things to lighten that toxic load in your body. Have I walked a fine line here, David, but stayed on the right side of the line?
Well, let me put it this way.
We've got to tell them that they need to do something with their body. We can't tell people just ignore it.
No. To sort of reiterate where I'm coming from, glyphosate and lead and other things that we will be testing for using this kit, to me, are big indicators. We live in a sea of heavy metals and toxic organic chemicals like humanity has never lived in before. It has gone out of sight and beyond my imagination in the last 3 decades for a variety of reasons that we discuss here. But when I use TOXYScreen to look at my levels of glyphosate and certain heavy metals, that to me is going to be an indicator of my overall exposure. And I tell you what, if my lead levels are really high, I want to find out where that's coming from. And that's another part of the TOXYSolutions Environmental Justice Project, is to do what's being done in Flint, Michigan. Take a look, figure out what the source of this is, and deal with it.
And within the next 2 weeks, and maybe 3 at the most, the TOXYScreen kits can very well, okay, have the ability to test water for specific toxins.
Yeah,
and again, I won't pin these guys to an exact date. They're both looking at me. Their eyes just got really big. There is not an exact date, but would you agree, gentlemen, that that is being pursued by your labs at this point? Water testing?
Absolutely. We're pursuing that, that ability to do that. Yes.
That's critical right now because the whole country is panicking. Please continue, David, because you just made an extremely important point.
Yeah. What I like about the specific test that Gene and Ed have focused on, certain heavy metals and glyphosate. Here's a good example. If I find out that I've got high levels of glyphosate, that my body's carrying it, it's circulating in my blood, it's impacting my organs, that is an agricultural product. That's going to raise concerns about me about what else is there that's coming from the world of agriculture. What other pesticides or herbicides should I be talking with my doctor about and saying, you know, let's do some additional tests here and find out if I need to be monitored and have certain treatments done to deal with it. So it puts in my hands an enormously powerful weapon for me to do something with, to protect my own health and my family's health.
That right there is the key, because again, I started this show off by saying the most vulnerable amongst us are our very young children and our elderly parents. And this is who suffers the biggest load. So let's go back to you, Ed. You've heard what David said, and it's always worth listening to what David says.
Always.
Always. So David, thank you very much. But Ed, you've heard my rambling. You've heard the absolute brilliance of David, and then we heard Gene. But anyway, joking, Gene. Tell me what you think, because again, we're talking about a paradigm shift here. We're talking about empowering the average citizen on the street to take charge of their health again, to be able to say, I know. When you walk into a doctor's office or a naturopathic or a homeopathic practitioner's office, if you can walk into their office and say, hey, look, I have this level of glyphosate, this level of lead, and this level of mercury in my body. What do I need to do? What can you do for me? You've not only empowered yourself, you've empowered that doctor or that practitioner, whether he's a homeopathic practitioner or a naturopathic practitioner or a regular medical doctor, because now you are telling him you don't have to send the posse out to find the bad guys. I not only know what they are, but I know the levels. So now it's not a matter of hit and miss. It's not a matter of, well, let's spend 2 months figuring out what's actually causing your problems. We can start treating them immediately, and we can start treating them with exactly what we know works with those toxins. So what we have here is not only a tool to empower you and me, we have a tool to empower our naturopaths, our homeopaths, and our doctors. This is a two-edged sword that nobody's talking about. Have I got that right, Ed?
Yes, you do have that right. It's and you know, it's amazing. Like a lot of times now they're talking about taking control of your own health, and this is the way to do it. You can walk in with all the answers for your doctor. He doesn't, because most of the time doctors don't look at heavy metals. It's one of the last things they look at. Why, I don't know, because they start giving you all this medicine to treat stuff, and maybe that's the wrong thing. So it's really important to be able to walk in there, show them your results. And again, the other big thing is the children. I mean, we took this test with children sleeping in their mother's arms. You know, if you can do this with kids and they don't, I mean, I held my granddaughter down to get a needle stick, and it is not fun. So when you can use a test like this and test the children, that's where it's at. I mean, that's huge.
Well, I would say that it's beyond huge, but I think that you're one of these people who doesn't like to tout his own credentials. But I'm going to tell you right now, what you and Gene have done is a paradigm shift. And look at the caliber of people you have attracted onto this project. We're talking about Brian Hooker, who has told David and I, and he's another PhD level researcher who came on a show with David and I, which is an absolutely phenomenal show. Anybody who hasn't heard it, please listen. And the last thing he said as he went away is, I'll come back anytime you want. Invite me back anytime. Okay, so we've got people like Brian Hooker, we've got people like David Lewis, we've got people like James McCanney, we've got people like Michael Murphy, who produced two of the all-time best documentaries on geoengineering and what's raining down from our skies and poisoning us. So this is the caliber of people that are being drawn into this project. But this whole project, none of it would have started had I not met Gene, had I not found out about TOXYScreen. TOXYSolutions would not exist. Sure, there's a lot more to TOXYSolutions than just TOXYScreen, but TOXYSolutions exists because of TOXYScreen. It's the catalyst. So look at the people, Ed, that we have managed to bring into this project because of TOXYScreen. So
yeah,
when
since we met you, we've met so many people that are so excited about this program and what you guys are doing, reaching out to all these people. It's really something.
Well, you gave us a reason to do that. You're the catalyst. My life would be a lot simpler and I'd be getting a lot more sleep and eating a lot more food if I never would have met you guys. I mean, but the truth is I wouldn't be doing anything else. I would not want to be doing anything else. Okay, my life has got so much meaning now because of people like you, people like Gene, and especially people like David. And, you know, he squirms a little bit when I throw the accolades on him as heavily as I do. But David is one of the loveliest human beings on this planet. Just to get to know him is it's a treasure, okay? And he has that steel trap mind that can figure out what we need to do with something like this. And Gene, this is where I need to bring you back in. All right. There is a big project building and about to explode. We've launched the website. We haven't launched the affiliate project. That's coming within the next 24 to 48 hours. That's going to be like strapping a supercharger onto this thing. That is going to literally put this project into orbit. Right now, basically all we've got is the website up and running and say, go take a look at it. Anybody who knows what an affiliate program is, once we launch that, we start bringing people from across the country and then across the world to your doorstep. I only hope you guys can produce enough kits. But the point here is that we're looking at something that never would have happened had I not met you, Gene. And it is you that I met. And you can be as humble as you wish, but this is a paradigm shift. And as you squirm in your chair and I'm watching you, I want you to explain to me exactly what that means to you.
Well, it means everything to me. And being in construction, I know what poisons I brought home and affected my family. And it's like Dr. Lewis had mentioned. He wants to know where it came from. If it's lead, mercury, glyphosate, where is it coming from? Personally, I have a niece that over 2 months ago, she was having her amalgams, her mercury-filled, fillings removed, and the doctor did it wrong, and she almost died. She was in the hospital. She was poisoned with the silver and the mercury in her body, and she is still suffering from it. And it's as easy as trying to find out, yes, windows or it's the jewelry or whatever, games that the kids play with, but as small as sunflower seeds. Ed and I discovered, we wrote a paper on it too, that how a family was being poisoned, the grandmother and granddaughter, and the only common denominator in that family, we had soil tested, windows, everything tested in that home, and it turned out to be the sunflower seeds. We had the State Department of Health for Indiana, and they not only found I told them 6 different manufacturers. I did not give them the name of the seeds that they were eating from, and they found out the levels were all the same from around the world. These sunflower seeds, they're all contaminated. Lead, mercury, and arsenic in the shells, in the seeds themselves. And they even found out that the ink on the outside of the packages were filled with lead. So where are you getting it from? Everywhere. There's nothing. If you look at kids and watching their ball teams play, those kids are throwing sunflower seeds down their throat. Guess what? It's everywhere, and you have to be so conscious of where it's coming from. And Dr. Lewis explained it exactly. I mean, it's damaging, but for us, for Ed and I, to be able to bring this test, to have, somehow we came up with this. We knew there had to be something better. We call it testing with dignity for what we're bringing. And it was left up to us. We came up with the idea, we pushed it, and we've been working on this come March 15th. It's been 11 years.
Well, I've got to jump in and say, because we're just about out of time, I got to jump in and say that for anybody who thinks that good ideas only come from multi-billion-dollar companies, you haven't studied your history. Okay, a lot of ideas that have changed the world, the paradigm shifts that have changed the world, come from individuals talking over their kitchen table. And you and Ed are a shining example that ingenuity is not dead in America. And I would like to give you each about a minute, because we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left, to say anything you'd like to say on parting shots. And David, one of the things you said that still is haunting me, okay, and this is a show you and I did almost a year ago, is that today the toxic levels in the soils and stuff around us could be 1,000,000 times higher than what it was. And I'm getting a flashing light, which means we've only got a few minutes. So if you could give me about a 30 or 40-second wrap up, then we'll probably finish up on time and Biggie won't get upset with me.
Yeah, Roger, in a nutshell, what I saw at EPA is take all the problems we had with water pollution, with pesticides and heavy metals and all of the things that get dumped in rivers in 1970. They have moved that to sewage treatment plants where it's concentrated all the things that cause birth defects, cause neurological disorders, cause immune system problems. All of these things are being concentrated millions of times higher in concentration and spread on land, from school playgrounds to golf courses, you name it, farms. Is getting covered with tons of this material called biosolids. So whereas pollutants used to go in the river and out into the ocean, it's now all spread around us. We need this test more than ever.
I not only agree with you, but as usual, you put it as eloquently as possible. And I thank you for being here, David. It's always a pleasure to bring you on any show. You not only add credibility, but you add that Southern charm. And it works so well. It does. Gene, give us about a 30, 45-second wrap up for what you think about, not so much Toxy Screen, because we know what you think about that. You're one of the inventors. TOXYSolutions.
Well, real quick, Ed would tell you he will be a lot longer than 45 seconds. He can't talk that short a time, but I'm going to try. For TOXYSolutions, again, the team that has been put together from all the people we've spoke to in the last several months that you have formulated, and their level of concern for the human race, not just the American people, but the human race. And that brings this on a global level. We can do this globally. And, again, let's make this thing go around the world and start changing everybody's health. I'll give it to you now.
After we're gonna launch that here for about the first 3 or 4 months, and then it is going global, and we're already putting together a global network to sell this across the planet. And I'm going to tell you something, like I said, be prepared, okay? Because your biggest problem going forward is going to be, can we make that many kits? And I hope that's I hope that's a problem you have, my friend. I really do. Okay. Ed, jump in there. You've got about 30 seconds. Please tell me what you think about TOXYSolutions, because I haven't heard enough from you, my friend.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Roger. You've been doing this radio show for a long time, and to put a team like this together is amazing. You've done a great job, and I hope that all the people listening to your show realize the value of what you've done and how we can help their children and themselves not get any sicker than they already are. That's all. I mean, there's nothing else to say. You're a great man, and you've done a great job putting this team together. I hope the parents get something out of it.
I not only agree, but I just got the 1 minute warning, so I'm going to have to do my super speed talk here. Thank you all for being here. You're all superstars in your own right. You're friends of mine, and that's what counts the most. And for everybody listening, this has been TLBTV, Eradicating Programmed Ignorance. Please spend some time on Conscious Consumer Network. It's worth the time. It's worth the effort. It's a network that helps us get a word like this out, not only in the United States, but this is seen in over 140 countries across the planet. So when you said you want it global, Gene and Ed, we just started that right now. Okay. All right. Thank you all. And I couldn't be happier with 3 better guests. Have a great night. And for everybody listening, thank you.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you for tuning into CCN. This unique network is dedicated to free and independent media. CCN was created with the belief that information is the common heritage of all beings, which is why our live stream high-definition broadcast is easily accessible and free to view. If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Having produced over 1,000 shows in 2015, which are all archived on YouTube, we look forward to bringing you more groundbreaking, cutting-edge information in 2016. For more information on what is on, please check out our broadcast guide for weekly updates. CCN broadcasts in multiple languages and features some key voices of our challenging times who are all in pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world. CCN belongs to you, the people, and it is up to you all to keep this network on the air. Please contribute to the Network Support Fund or visit the CCN shop. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.